So, have you ever looked up at the sky and seen an aircraft just soaring? Totally silent, super graceful, with no engine roaring at all? That's a glider. And today, we're going to dig into how in the world they do that. Okay, let's just start with this. Look at this machine. There's no engine, there's no fuel, it's just a pilot and the wind, hanging out in the sky for sometimes hours and hours. I mean, how is that even possible? It feels like it breaks the rules, right?
Which brings us to the million-dollar question. How on earth do they stay up there for so long?
Well, let's start at the very beginning. Every flight, whether it's got an engine or not, has to start somewhere. You got to get off the ground first. See, unlike a regular plane, a pure glider needs a little push to get going. There are a few common ways to do it. First up, you've got the aero tow. This is pretty much what it sounds like. A regular airplane literally tows the glider up into the sky on a long rope. Then there's the winch launch. Picture a giant, super powerful fishing reel on the ground that yanks a long cable and just flings the glider into the air. Pretty dramatic. There's also a classic historic method called the bungee launch, which uses huge elastic ropes, usually from a hillside. That's how the pioneers did it. And finally, some modern gliders have this clever trick, a small, retractable engine for a self-launch. They use it to climb up and then just shut it off and tuck it away to start soaring. Okay, so once you're up there and that tow rope drops away or the engine gets tucked in, that's when the real magic begins. The secret isn't about, fighting gravity. It's all about finding air that's going up faster than your glider is naturally gently coming down. These pilots are basically masters at finding and riding these invisible elevators in the sky. The most common elevator is called thermal lift. It's actually pretty simple when you think about it. The sun beats down and heats up the ground. That, in turn, warms the air right above it. And what does warm air do? It rises. This creates an invisible column of lifting air. And just like a hawk or an eagle, a glider pilot can get inside that column and just circle their way up, gaining thousands of feet of altitude for free. But that's not the only trick up their sleeve. Pilots can literally use the shape of the Earth to fly. This is called ridge lift. Imagine wind hitting a huge mountain range or a cliff. It can't go through it, so it's got to go up. And pilots can just surf that upward flowing wind, flying back and forth along the ridge, sometimes for hours on end. And then you've got the big one, the most powerful lift of all, wave lift. This is seriously cool. When strong wind flows over mountains, it creates these massive, smooth waves in the atmosphere on the other side, kind of like swells on the ocean. Getting into one of those waves, that's how gliders can reach absolutely insane altitudes, way, way higher than commercial jets fly. All right, so let's just quickly recap the pilot's toolkit, their invisible engines. You've got thermals, those columns of warm air bubbling up from the sun-baked ground. You've got ridge lift, which is basically surfing the wind as it's forced up and over terrain. And you have wave lift, those huge, powerful, smooth atmospheric waves that can take you to the edge of space. And if you want to know just how powerful that wave lift is, get a load of this number, 76,100 feet. That is the world altitude record for a glider. I mean, just let that sink in. That's deep in the stratosphere. That is higher than a U-2 spy plane flies. All of that with absolutely no engine. It's just mind-blowing. Of course, finding that lift is only half the story. You also need the absolute perfect machine to actually use it. And that, my friends, is where glider design comes in. These things are, hands down, some of the most efficient flying machines humans have ever built. So, the key number for any glider is what's called its glide ratio. And for a top-tier sailplane, that number is a jaw-dropping 70-1. What does that mean? It means for every 1 kilometer it goes down, it can travel 70 kilometers forward. To really understand how wild that is, let's compare it to something else that glides, the space shuttle. An absolute marvel of engineering, right? Well, on its way back to Earth, the shuttle had a glide ratio of about 4.5-1. Yeah. That means our glider, with no rockets and no reentry computers, is over 15 times more efficient at turning height into distance. The shuttle was often called a flying brick. The glider, it's more like a feather. So how is that even possible? It's all in the design, just pure aerodynamic genius. First, you've got those incredibly long, skinny wings. We're talking spans of up to 20 meters, designed to just scoop up as much lift as possible. Then, the body, the fuselage, is perfectly smooth and streamlined to cut through the air with almost zero resistance. They're built from super lightweight yet incredibly strong stuff like carbon fiber. In fact, a modern glider is so slippery that its drag is 10 times less than that of a modern car. No wonder it can fly so far. And man, you can really see how far we've come. On the left, you're looking at the Wright brothers' 1902 glider. I mean, this was the machine that literally taught humanity how to fly. And on the right, a sleek, modern sailplane made of composites. The basic ideas are the same, but over 100 years of science has turned what was a short hop off a sand dune into the ability to fly across entire countries without burning a single drop of fuel. But hey, what goes up must come down. After hours of soaring in silence, every single one of these amazing journeys has to end with a return to solid ground. Now, landing a machine that's designed not to come down can be tricky. You can't just point the nose down because you'll build up way too much speed. So pilots use something called air brakes. These are basically panels that pop out from the top of the wings. They mess up the smooth airflow, create a bunch of drag, and let the pilot have pinpoint control over their descent. This lets them pull off a gentle, super accurate landing right on the spot they're aiming for.
Okay, but what happens if the good air runs out and you can't quite make it back to the airport? This is one of the coolest parts about gliding. Pilots are totally prepared for this. It's called an outlanding, and it's a completely standard procedure they train for. They just pick out a nice, suitable farmer's field, land safely, and then, get this, they can actually take the wings off, pack the whole glider into a long trailer, and just drive it home. How cool is that?
You know, when you really think about it all, the skill it takes to find invisible energy, the incredible engineering of the aircraft, and the pure art of flying it, you realize it's something truly special. As one source puts it, gliding stands as a testament to the harmonious partnership between human skill and the boundless sky. And really, that's what it's all about. It's a powerful reminder that sometimes the best way to fly is to simply work with nature, not try to overpower it.